It is Sunday. It's 9 p.m. Central European Time, 1900 UTC, and it's, as usual, it's Sunday Live here at the LB0 Fox Indian Norwegian Adventures. And over there is my unannounced guest. Welcome, Kjetil.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I figured since I had this Ask Me Anything stream, I should have a guest because I think I said during the last stream that I'm not doing this again, and here I am trying the same concept again. So we'll see if it works better now, and see what happens. So everyone, feel free to ask your questions in the chat, and we'll try to answer them as good as we can. And if we can't answer them, we'll Google a little bit.
Yep.
And we got a couple of people here. We got Andy here as usual, and Andy's a YouTube member actually. If you want to know what that's like, check the button down below, and you can see what it's like and if it's for you or not. We got Iowa Hank here. We got Bert here, and a new one, Nico, Italy Uniform 5 Kilo Hotel Papa. From Italy. Not a lot of Italians usually in my stream, so this is going to be exciting.
Yeah, that's fine.
And actually, we got one more, just waiting for it to pop up on here. Ham Radio Dude, and sorry, Sean, you're not first. You are almost first. You're the first person from Illinois, I think. And Colin's here, so this is great. Feel free to ask your questions, and we're a couple of hams that if we don't know anything, at least we know where to look, and we'll see what happens. And I actually got a couple of questions on Discord from a new ham that got his license earlier this week, LB7VJ. And I don't know if he's here or not, but we'll start with the question. And his first question is, how high should you put a 2-meter antenna? A permanent base station antenna. And do you want to go first, Kjetil?
Well, I have no idea about that. I don't have any permanent antennas at all, but I do know has to be high from portable setups. I've seen like how big of a difference it is when you have that antenna like at 2 meters above the ground or 10 meters above the ground. That's a massive change.
Yeah, it is. And with the UHF, VHF, height is might. And I'm thinking as high as possible as the best answer here, depending on how far you want the signal to propagate. But for 2 meters, 70 centimeters, as high as possible. Mm-hmm. And he followed up with a follow-up question. And I'm going to start Googling a little bit, because he asked how at what feed cable length should you switch from RG58 to RG213? And my thought is use the best cable possible on this. But I'm going to find a feed line loss calculator here, and we can bring that up, and we can kind of find out how much loss there is.
Yeah, I know some people that says for VHF, HF, you should always use RG213. So
yeah, I usually do that on most of my antennas as long as I got 213 available.
I don't have a single centimeter of that, I think. Way too heavy to care.
Yeah, because you operate mainly portable, though.
Yes.
So we got a feed line loss calculator here, and let's see here. Let's start with, let's see if we can find RG58 here.
I see that Mike Zero, Oscar Papa X-ray says that it has to be high enough for line of sight with regards to the antenna.
Yeah, pretty much.
As high as possible is basically the good thing.
And let's see, frequency would be 145. I think we can do that. And let's say that it's not a perfectly tuned antenna, and it'll probably be a 50-watt calculator. 50-watt radio. And let's see here. At that's 100 meters of cable. That's kind of a little bit too extreme. But let's say, as I have, I'm in the middle of the house. I probably got around 20 meters of cable, and that'll give you almost a 50% loss using RG58. I'll make this a little bit bigger. So let's switch that out to RG213. Let's see if I can find that here. Doesn't look like there's any RG213 here. But that's comparable to LMR 400 though. So let's do that and see.
There's RG213 on the list above it, at least.
Yeah, A267. But it's not here.
Okay, yeah, we don't see that list.
No, oh, sorry. Of course he doesn't. So, but this is a pretty good indicator, though. Your power out with using LMR 400 or RG213 would be approximately 40 watts. Whereas if you use RG58, your radiated power will be 23 watts, 24 watts. So it's a significant difference to that. So my advice on that is the best cable is the cable you have, but try to use the best cable as possible, especially on the higher frequencies. And then Colin says high enough for a line of sight, and that's exactly a good point. Bird asked if I use a lot of 70 centimeters, and no, I basically don't. I've used it a little bit for DMR, but I don't think I've ever used, except for a couple of simplex QSOs to test it out, have used 70 centimeters repeaters.
No, me neither. Like in Norway, FM repeaters are mostly 2 meters. DMR and Wires X is on 70 centimeters.
Yeah, and there's a lot of 2 meter Wires X and Fusion repeaters as well, because the Yaesu repeaters are usually 2 meters and dual mode.
Yeah, so but I've done some SOTA on 70 centimeters, but that is generally when there's a person on a peak very close to me, and like we go down the bands and take every band we can.
Exactly. I've done a couple of skeds with 70 centimeters and a handheld Yagi, just to see how far you can reach on 70 centimeters. But as a general rule, I don't use 70 centimeters that much. And LB7VJ had a third question as well, just to get us started. And if you guys in the chat has any questions at all relating to radio, post them in the chat, and we'll get to you once we get there. And he asked which antenna he should get for 2 meters and 70 centimeters. And I think the contenders was the Diamond X50 and the Diamond X300. And I've only used the X50, so I have no experience with the X300, but I can pull up some stats here on it, though. Let's see.
Yeah, those are vertical antennas, right?
Yeah, those are vertical antennas.
Okay, nice.
And let's see what it says here, though. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger again. This is the X50. And the X50 has, let's see, 4.5 decibels of gain on 2 meter, which is probably the most relevant band, though. And what I know is that the X50 is quite a bit smaller than the X300.
Yeah, a lot smaller.
Yeah, let's see here. Let's find the X300 here. The X300. Yeah, the X300's got a little bit more gain. Let's see if I can't see the size here, though. But
height in feet. So it's 3 meters, and the other was
yeah,
2 meters roughly.
yeah, the X50 is about my height, and I'm a meter and 70 centimeters. So it kind of depends though on on what your operating conditions are and what you can fit, and most of all, probably how much wind do you have.
Yeah, and I wouldn't go for any of those. I would have gone for a beam. But then, of course, then you would have to have a rotor and a place to put that. But if you can, a
Yeah,
beam will be more, give you a better performance for DXing or going down like on FT8 contests or whatever.
yeah, absolutely. But if you're working, say, repeaters and an FM simplex, a vertical
Yeah.
would be better for most use cases. So,
Hmm.
and I'm tempted to say the X50. It's pretty much the only FM vertical I have experience with. I've used it both for repeaters and at home, and for me, it works more than well enough. I don't know what the price difference is though, but I would imagine that the X300 is quite a bit more expensive.
300 was 1,250 kroner, so around $100.
Yeah.
So that's not expensive as I see it at least. And the X50 is 900 kroner, so about 85,
Yeah, so
$90.
it's pretty much the same though, and I think for regular use, you won't really see that much difference on those two antennas actually.
No, I don't think either. But if you want to do some tropo conditions every now and then, that's basically the fun thing I see about 2 meters.
Yeah,
Is
and then
being-
you would need to pretty much perhaps use sideband though, or digimodes and a horizontal 3, 4, 5 element beam.
yeah.
I actually have a 3-element beam. I sold my transverter today because I don't use it, and I'm probably going to take the antenna down so I have some RG213 to use for other projects.
Yeah.
I actually wired up a discone for scanning the other day, and had to use about 30 meters of RG58, and I can see that there is quite a bit of loss in that. So, and Uncle Ginter's in the chat. Welcome. And I'm going to contact you. I actually have a plan for a stream. I can tell you about that until we get some more questions. So feel free to ask the questions. Any question, anything just to keep us going here. Because I'm planning in 2 weeks. Actually, LabCat suggested this. A European ham tubers Digimode net, and do it live on YouTube. And I figured that'd be a good stream for Sunday in 2 weeks. So if you want to join us there, Ginter, feel free, and I'll make sure I'll download WhatsApp and contact you as we agreed on. And Carl's got a question. Do you use horizontal polarization for Tropa on 2 meters? Does it even matter? That's a good question.
I've tried it at least.
Yeah. The thing is, though, the modes you usually utilize Tropa for are either sideband or digimodes, and they're usually done with horizontal polarization. That being said, though, I live in southeastern parts of Norway, and if there are tropo conditions, I can hear Danish repeaters, sometimes German repeaters as well here, if the conditions are good.
Yeah.
And Iowa Hank just comments that Sunday in 2 weeks will be Hamvention week in the States. So that's a good thing if we're doing a European Hamtubers net, because I don't think a lot of us will be going to Hamvention. I'd love to go there sometime, but not this year. So what do you think on Tropa there, Kjetil?
Same as you, basically SSB horizontal. I haven't done any SSB QSOs, but I've done a bit of FT8 just during summertime. Whenever I know that there's good tropo conditions, I drive out and usually try to rig up close to the sea and run. I have a Yagi, a 70 centimeter and 2 meter Yagi, and I rig that up. I am using that with RG58, and from what I see of your calculator, I should maybe try to get some better cable for that, because I think I run it with 20 meters of RG58 or so.
Yeah, and let's just do a quick. Let's go back to the calculator here and see the loss though. See, with 20 meters of RG58, you're actually losing half of your power there.
Yeah, and since I'm running QRP, running 10 watts out, then I don't have that much to lose. But I have done quite a few of them. But I have one of those of the cheapest type of inverters, transverters, those that don't have a TCXO. So it's drifting a lot. It's drifting even during FT8 transmission. So you will actually see that it's drifting down. And when you start transmitting, it will be starting drifting in the other direction because it's heating up.
So let's see. I'm just going to add the numbers. We're still at 20 meters, but we're at 10 watts out.
Yeah.
And let's see here. Using let's do the right cable here though. RJ58. You will be actually not that bad though. About 5 watts of radiated power before the antenna. Before the antenna. And let's switch that to let's say LMR 400 though, since that's the cables we're using. You'll be up to almost 8 watts on that. So there is a significant difference. And just for the sake of it, I actually found RG213 here now in the calculator. But if you're using RG174, you'll have an 80% loss.
And that's the cable that's on the Sota Beam span hoppers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that.
But I mean, the lower you go in frequencies, the less the loss will be, though. So. And I see that Colin actually comments on polarization. It should be vertical to vertical or horizontal to horizontal. Yeah, and you're absolutely correct about that. Ionospheric propagation gets muddled. And Carl asked if the receive is reduced about the same as the transmit. Yeah, exactly the same. So, yeah. I mean, use the best cable you can get, but the best feed line is always the feed line you got.
Yeah, I see that next weekend there's actually going to be some good tropa conditions here from Western Norway over to UK.
Yeah, would you like to share your screen there? And
I can do that if I find the button. Yep. And that tab.
Let's see.
Yep. Do you see it now?
Yes. Yeah, I can see it now.
So this is the DX Info Center. They have a tropospheric ducting one. You can go in here and select your region. And we are in northwestern Europe here. So I'm located roughly here. Morten is about there.
Could you zoom in a little bit?
Oh, yes, sorry. So, forgot.
Yeah.
Yep. So Morten is located roughly here. I'm over here, at least now. So you just press it and it's in 3-hour increment. It's usually quite good, this, but of course now it's a week in advance and weather forecasting isn't that good.
It actually looks like I would have some openings towards both across the North Sea coast pretty much. Yes. And that's too bad because I sold my Elecraft XV144 transceiver today. So I've tried 2-meter tropo, and as much as it interests me and as much as I'd really like to get hooked on that, the openings are just too far between for me to have that kind of equipment lying around. Unfortunately.
Yeah, for me, the boring thing there is going out and rigging up all the equipment, and there's nothing. So I go there and watch, for example, FT8 spots and see if there's anything between this part of the country and others. And also let's look at APRS to see if I can hear some Danish stations, for example.
Yeah, and that's usually a good indicator, though. When I see my radio starts receiving German and Danish APRS transmissions, I know there's some Tropa going on.
Yeah.
And we got another question from Carl here. Tropa is inversions and layers of air with different temperatures. Yeah, that's exactly correct.
Yeah, tropospheric ducting.
Yeah, so you'll get a duct between different layers of air, and they'll bounce the signals up and down through that duct until it escapes somewhere, hopefully far away.
And that's mostly VHF and UHF from what I understand.
Yeah.
So it was really fun. Where I grew up, there was a hill when you drove up it. For about 10 to 15 meters, the FM station you heard, like the radio station, changed to someone really far away when the weather was correct. And that was only when the weather was correct. So that was like perfect example of tropoducting. It was about 10, 15 meters.
Exactly. And I mean, I remember also summers growing up at my grandparents' cabin, and pretty much the same area as I live now. When conditions were right, we could get Danish TV.
Yeah. So at my cabin, I usually only get, for example, I can only reach the local repeater during daytime. So after sunset, it stops. There are some really fun local stuff when it comes to VHF and UHF to make it work or not work.
So it's line of sight, but it's not always line of sight. And I honestly don't know too much about it, though, except for theoretical stuff. But back to the original question regarding your 2-meter antenna, it should be as high as you can get it. Oh,
yep.
Let's see if we can get the camera to focus again. That's what you get from buying a cheap webcam.
Yeah.
So there we go. I'm back in focus.
Yeah, but the difference between having the antenna 2 meters above the ground and 10 meters is massive. I've done a lot of testing with J-poles while out hiking, and sometimes I just hang them in a tree. And you should think that like you're up on a SOTA summit, you're like 300 meters above the sea. That should be enough, but it's not. They are actually sensitive for how far they are off the ground.
Yeah. So, but basically mine is about, let's see, about 12 meters above ground. And that gives me a pretty good coverage. Let me bring up a map here. And I know that if it was any lower than that, I probably wouldn't be able to get that kind of coverage.
Yeah.
Let's see, because I'm here where it says N. And I can pretty much reach repeaters around and the circle. I'll zoom in a little bit more. Pretty much in this area is where I can reach repeaters, but mostly going west and going north, because towards the south and the east, I have some hills that are blocking the signals. Yeah. Whereas to the west and the north, I've got a little bit of salt water that probably helps at least a little bit. And I tried having my antenna lower, and that kind of limits my radius to about the bottom right part of the map here.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work from Gaustatoppen. It's one of Norway's highest mountains. You're up at 1,887 meters. And you reach really far with 2 meter and 5 watts. But the fun part is that you hear a lot of conversations going on the calling frequencies. Last time I was there, I was calling CQ, and I heard like 2 or 3 QSOs going on shortly after with people saying, "Oh, I can't hear anyone because there's nobody on the frequency." Because they're down in each of their valleys and they couldn't hear each other.
Yeah.
So up there, I think 140 kilometers or so was what I reached with 5 watts.
Yeah, at least you reached me with 5 watts, and that, I guess that's about 140 kilometers, and that's good for 2 meter.
Yeah.
I'm not a big 2 meter guy myself. I really wish there was a lot more traffic on 2 meter FM
Yes.
for local and regional stuff, but unfortunately there isn't that much. Sometimes you might be on 2 meters all night, but then the next 15, 16 nights in a row, there's nothing.
Yeah, I tried a lot. I've tried a lot while traveling. I also tried when I went down to, I went close to where Günther lives, DK50NV. I tried calling people on 2 meters there, both direct on or on repeaters, and nothing. But I guess it's the same here. You rarely hear any traffic at all, especially from people you don't know.
Yeah, so. And there might be a lot of people listening, but if they don't know your call sign, they're not gonna get back to you. Usually, I always try to get back to people on 2 meters because I don't want to be that guy. I want to make sure that the next time I call in a different area, that someone's going to get back to me. Yeah. Speaking of that, traveling and 2 meters, since we have no questions, and make sure you ask your questions in the chat. What are your thoughts on repeater book? Do you find that accurate?
Sometimes. Usually it is updated on the frequency because they rarely change. Here in Norway, there's been a lot of change when it comes to subtones or 1750 tones, stuff like that. But outside of Norway, it's usually very good. It hasn't improved lately, so.
I've tried it a little bit in Sweden, and actually I figured out the most of the stuff is incorrect. I've submitted some changes about my local repeater here to repeater book to have it updated and correct. And I'm gonna just put repeater book up here. And I don't know if there's a map function on repeater book.
Well, there has been before, at least.
Let's see. Let's go to rest of the world repeaters. And let's do a proximity search and see what happens. And I'm just going to enter my local town here. And see what happens.
Yeah.
And not a lot shows up actually. And I know the top one here, I've submitted a change to have that repeater deleted because that hasn't existed for at least 10 years as far as I know.
There's a map results button on top there.
Let's see. Yeah.
So, and I know there are lots of other lists as well. They are not very good. You have to zoom over to Norway. It thinks you're in.
Yeah. Zoomed out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Doesn't seem to be working.
No. And that's my experience with repeater book as well. And it's a pity though, because it is a really powerful tool if it was just filled with correct information.
Yeah, I have checked using APIs.fi sometimes because the repeaters do send APIs information with information about like the frequency and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that should probably be more correct, though, hopefully, if the information transmitted through APIs is correct.
Yeah. Brandmeister is usually much more updated, but that requires them to be online as well. So it's not that surprising. They have a very good coverage map, though.
Brandmeister?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. It's brandmeister.network, isn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I can share here.
Yeah, I already got it up here. But if you have a map going,
Yeah.
we can put you up.
Just gonna find that one. So this is the local repeater here, LD for LI, or Lima Delta for Lima India. It's located here, very close to Soto Summit. And you can see the coverage area. There has been some activity here today, mostly the same guy, apparently. But this one, you can see it does actually check like for mountains, or are you in the shade of the mountain or not.
Yeah.
So this is quite accurate, of course, without the tropo considerations and things like that. But it's pretty accurate. Like when you are on some of these SOTA summits down here, you can actually open the repeater.
Yeah, and that's at least it gives you some kind of indication, though.
Yes.
On the reach of the signals.
Yeah.
So, and since there's no new questions here, I just saw your latest video on using WinLink on license-free radios. How was that experiment when you did it? And if you haven't checked that video out, I'd recommend you to do that. Tell us a little bit about it while I find your YouTube channel here, Kjetil.
Yeah, I just had a stupid idea and thought, like, can I send WinLink over or anything over PMR radio, same as KDR radio or FMR over in the States. So it's just license-free 70 centimeter radios, 0.5 watts. You cannot modify them in any way, not legally at least. But you can use them to send basically what you want, because they're limited only by, like, they are license free, and the requirement in the laws is that you just send using an approved radio. So one of my radio types, it has Vox. So I thought maybe I could do that or not. No, I did not, Eric, because I'm actually not using FM here, or it is broadcasting over FM, but I'm not using FM modulation. It's just picking it up off the microphone. So maybe that would be better. I don't know.
I mean, it's just so, it's a wacky concept, and it's just such a great idea to come up with to do it.
Yeah, I know that if I had bothered to sit down and make cables, because these ones have 2.5 millimeter jacks, I think, for headsets, like four prong connectors. And you can just take the output of one of the radio sets and put it as input to the other one. That could work, but I was too lazy for that, so I just went for doing it with Vox. Really dirty, but it also shows how amazingly rugged this protocol is. You can easily speak over it, and it just does error correction.
Exactly, and I got a couple of PMR radios here. These ones, the Retivi's, let's see, RT622P, and if you want the FRS version, it's RT22P, and this one actually has a 3.5 millimeter jack. So I was tempted to try to recreate that and see if we could get any other digimodes on it.
For example, FT8 would probably not work that well, since these ones they're really slow when it comes to releasing Vox and opening Vox.
Yeah.
So it could work. FT4 would, of course, not work because it's too fast. But yours are probably a bit more professional than the ones I had.
Well, the 3.5 millimeter jack here is actually just a headphone socket, though, so there's no mic input.
Now, these ones have mic input, and they actually also have an external handset microphone, so you could, in theory, do push to talk with them.
Yeah. And that should actually work.
Yeah, I see Karl-Erik has also done packet with speaker and mic on the PC, and that's the first part of this radio. And I remember us sitting up at the club station on Karmøy the first time at Lima Alpha 4 Charlie, when I first tried to get WinLink working, me and a few others. We couldn't get it to work properly. And then we tried between two of the computers, and it picked it up from this headphone speakers on one of them. It's just so sensitive.
It is a robust protocol, and you could, of course, also use one of these. And then we're back to the focus. Nothing's in focus now, so let's see if I can force it to focus. But then again, these aren't legal on PMR frequencies, and I guess the challenge is to use a legal PMR radio, so stay within the law.
No, I would love to do that over FM as well, and try with Baofeng radios, for example.
You could probably
be really fun to try.
Yeah, you could probably do that with the all-in-one cable, though. If you heard about that,
which is that on stream.
Yeah, which is an open source hardware project, which has a sound card interface and a serial interface with a Baofeng plug, or Kenwood connector, as it's officially called. And you could probably do some digimodes on the amateur bands using that over FM.
Yeah,
but I guess the fascinating part was that he did it on equipment that wasn't really meant to do this, and on a radio service which wasn't really meant to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I would guess that some people got a bit confused, at least if anyone listened in, because I was just using two of the normal channels for this.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of PMR traffic though, and the radios are limited to built-in antennas and half a watt, so that should probably reduce the coverage a bit. I see that Carl asked for any links on the all-in-one cable, and just hang on and we'll see what we can find.
That looks like a good project.
It does. When I've checked it out, and I'm just going to put the page up here and make it a little bit bigger. And there are a couple of good videos on it, both temporarily offline, and Ham Radio Dude's got a couple of videos on the all-in-one cable. And it's open hardware. You can you got the videos here actually, and you can just download the schematics. You can order all the parts. Everything's pretty much set for you, and there should be a little paragraph here on where to order the parts and upload the files. And I think it's JLC PCB. Is that correct? But I've checked it a couple of times, and there's always one component missing when you try to order it. So I haven't gotten around to it yet, but that should be pretty easy. JLC PCB, yeah, and you can just upload the Gerber files and the bill of materials, and you should get it theoretically almost assembled. The only thing you got to do is solder these two 2.5 millimeter and 3.5 millimeter jacks. And there's actually a 3D printed template to get those aligned correctly. So it's an exciting project. I haven't gotten around to ordering that yet. It's on my list.
Yeah, looks quite fun. Looking forward to that video.
Yeah, that's quite far in the future though. I've noticed that not a lot of people ask questions though. So maybe we should start to wrap things up.
Yeah, I think so. There's it's Sunday, and early morning tomorrow as well.
Yeah. But what's coming up on your channel and now and in the next couple of weeks, Jetta? Do you have any plans?
I have a SOTA video in the books, filmed it earlier this week, and I got plans for another one. There's contest coming up, SSA portable test, Swedish Radio Amateur League's portable test, which I'm always a part of, and that's on May 21st. So I think that's really fun contest to do, like get more points the less power you use.
Yeah, and that, I mean, I've done that once, and absolutely, it's a fun contest. I'll see if I get time to do it now, this time, and try to do some POTA at the same time.
Yeah.
And I see that Carl on the AIOC cable, he tried to use the Baofeng's, which is a sound card. PTT triggered by connecting ground on 2 plugs together. I've tried triggering PTT on Baofeng's with a relay, and I've not been able to do that successfully. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but apparently someone else has had the same issue though.
Yeah.
So
shouldn't that work with an... Sorry?
Yeah, it should theoretically work, but back to the portable contest, it's absolutely, if you're somewhere in the area, it's a fun contest to do.
Yes.
And you get a lot of multipliers if you get down to less than 1 watt. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, last year, I think we had a QSO then. I think you were, if you were on that, I was doing 0.9 watts, which is the lowest, like below 1 watt. And you can reach surprisingly long or far with that on SSB. But I usually live or work from western part of Norway, and then doing that is not a big option. Like there are too few people that can hear you.
Yeah, the time I used it, I used 19.9 watts to be with below the 20 watt segment, which gives you a tiny bit of multiplier, but not that much.
Yeah, the classes are 1 watt, 5 watts, 10 watts, isn't it like that? And
10 watts and 20 watts and above, I think.
Yeah.
So if you're below 20 watts, you're getting a 2-time multiplier, I think.
Yeah, so I'm usually running 2 classes. You don't need to stick within the same power setting. So usually when I call people, I start at the lowest power setting. And if they can hear me, I finish the QSO there. If not, I go up to the next level. And that's okay in that contest.
Yeah. I got a couple of videos coming up on my channel just to do that. I'm wrapping up on my RT3S OpenGD77 series, and figured that there was one thing that I haven't done. I hadn't really checked the output power of the radio, but that's coming up on Tuesday. And later in the week, I don't know, have you tried free data, the new Digimode?
No, we spoke about trying it, but I haven't got that far.
Yeah, I tried it last week and made a video about it, so that's lined up to be released. And it's a fun mode, and I think that's going to be when the software gets a little bit further on than the alpha stage it's on, and people start using it, maybe get some coordinated calling frequencies for it or something. My prediction is that that's going to be about as big as VAR AC is now, because it's a robust protocol, and it's really fun to use.
Yeah, VAR AC would be very fun to. I've nearly finished 1 QSO on it.
Yeah, I've done a lot of QSO. I've done a couple of live streams on it, and there are some QSOs to be had. And it's actually, since it uses VARA, it's a robust protocol. But it's kind of hit and miss. I went out to make doing a POTA on just VAR AC video. That video did not get released or filmed pretty much because I got about half a QSO, and then I couldn't get any more. And then I'm doing a little bit of a special, and that's in about a week and a half time. I'm doing a video on the tools and the food I carry for my POTA activations, because people have actually been interested in that. So those are my 3 next videos lined up, and I'm cutting down on my release schedule. I've been releasing 3 videos per week, and that's just too much. So I'm going down to 2 videos and a live stream per week, except for next week. Then there'll only be 2 videos and no live stream. And back to that, if you watch this and you want to be part of the stream in 2 weeks with the European Digimodes Net streamed live on YouTube, just contact me. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. My emails on my YouTube page, and also Mastodon. So I should be pretty easy to spot, and I'm also good on QRZ. So if you want to be part of that, that'd be a lot of fun. See how many Digimodes and how many QSOs we can get in an hour.
Yeah.
So, and I guess that's a bit about it for today, though. We're pretty much out of questions. So we'll get back, and I won't be back next week with live stream. I'll be back in 2 weeks with the European Digimode Net, and hopefully someone will join me there. And for people watching this in Team Replay, there's a little bit of ticker down there. And I know I have some followers that live in pretty much the same area as that picture is taken. So feel free to take a guess and leave a comment on that. And that's about it for tonight. If you haven't subscribed to this guy, do that. And
subscribe to that guy as well.
Yeah. I've noticed that only about a third of my viewers are subscribed. So there are room for more. So let's see. Carl asked where the picture's from.
Earth.
Yeah. Let's say it's North America.
Yours is. Yours is. Mine is not.
Yeah, no, yours is not. Mine's from North America. And I guess at that point, when looking at some other YouTubers' videos, you would get good saltwater takeoff from that pier. Unfortunately, I was there before I got licensed.
Yeah,
but that
mine is seen in one of my videos, to say it that way.
So I guess you got to watch his videos, and you got to try to figure out where the picture is from. Leave a comment down below, and until next time, guys, 7-3, and thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.